Hello, FAI community. I'm Liz Cohen, and I'm joined by my collaborator, Deborah Glassford, and we're here to talk about how to have a health coaching mindset. Thank you so much for choosing to watch our session. Aging is something on everyone's mind in so many different ways. Youngsters want to be teenagers, teenagers want to be adults, and then when you become an adult, your thoughts go to, how can I stay young? When Deb and I realized the variety of our clients' ages, it struck us. It's important to understand, as we age, what's changing and how our support of our clients may need to change as well. That's why we created this course, Health Coaching, Riding the Aging Wave. So John Kabat-Zinn is a doctor, scientist, and meditation teacher, internationally known for bringing mindfulness practices into the mainstream. And he has this catchphrase, you can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. And that's where we got our inspiration for the name of our course, Health Coaching, Riding the Aging Wave. During today's session, we will review a few health coaching mindset concepts that can help your clients stay on their fitness path through life's transitions over their aging decade. Now, Robert Neal Butler was the first director of the National Institute of Aging, and he said, if exercise could be packed in a pill, it would be the single most prescribed and beneficial medicine in the nation. With a health coaching mindset, we can become more aware of human behavior and increase our support of our clients. I wanted to take a moment to share this quote from Rick Sullivan, a certified personal trainer and owner of Evolve Exercise in Merrick, New York. After taking the health coaching class, he said, I believe that the pandemic, which the fitness industry continues to contend with, has forever changed the job description of the personal trainer. No longer is it enough to provide exercise instruction and nutrition advice. The personal trainer must become a coach and guide their clients step by step along their fitness path. Riding the Aging Wave provides clear and concise methods for the personal trainer to do just that. So thanks, Rick, for your endorsement, and we hope you all will feel the same way.
So for today, our goal is to share highlights of concepts around health coaching through the aging decades. In doing so, we hope you will be able to walk away from the session with the ability to, number one, increase the connection with your clients, especially in our now more virtual-based ones. Two, to understand what health coaching is and begin to think like a health coach. Three, develop the skills to craft questions that elicit meaningful responses. And four, learn about some of the tools that will help our clients stay on their fitness paths through their decades. COVID-19 impacts are vast and will remain with us for the next normal. This can lead to a reduction in motivation from being home and isolated. Many are uncomfortable going out and about, bringing on irregular nutrition behavior. We're hoping that with these health coaching concepts, we can help you keep your clients engaged and motivated, and most importantly, stay on their health and fitness paths. So for some grounding on how we approach the course, as we talk about health coaching, we pretty much worked with two demographics. We organized the materials to demonstrate the differences between the middle-agers, which we found 50 to 70 years, and the older agers as 70 to 80 plus. Now, of course, we are making some generalizations because we all know there are some people out there amazingly fit and active, into the century. But through our personal experience with our clients and research, we've found some commonalities that can help us have a starting point in the best ways to support our clients. Some may have met a client at 40, continued your training relationship, and now they're in their 60s. You notice the changing mindset, and of course, the physical changes that go along with that. So using your own personal connections and the health coaching concepts we discuss, we can adjust as needed.
Yeah, so let's start with some commonalities across the decades. People in their 50s begin to need a break from or a change in work, or need to adjust the at-home lifestyle as kids grow up, grow out, sometimes they return. Also, physically, hormones shift with the reduction of estrogen and testosterone and all that comes with those changes. And then the dreaded readers. People are in denial. I was one of them, straining my eyes, refusing to wear the glasses, which led to headaches and excuses for missing workouts. Also, health screening becomes more important, and additional ones are added, like the colonoscopies and bone densities as examples.
And then we glide into the 60s. And these are usually people in a position to experience forced retirements, or they choose to retire. This very often leads to confusion, some self-doubt, can contribute to missed exercise sessions, and potentially bring on poor eating habits. Simultaneously, the home lifestyle continues to evolve, and this affects schedules and home routines. Add to this the physical changes to muscle and bone. We create an increased risk of injury. It becomes even more important during this decade to remind your clients that through exercise, they can slow down the aging process and continue to improve their quality of life.
Yeah, so those were the 60s, and into the 70s, according to a study on the science of happiness, people in their 70s are the happiest and feel the freest. Most often it's because they're not working full-time jobs or at all, and they have much more perspective on life. They know where they want to spend their time, what they want to do, who they want to be with, and the importance of being around family and helping their communities. However, because of physiological changes to the body, they can become more concerned around balance, and they can become more fatigued. But through health coaching, we can encourage clients to eat nutritious foods, keep moving, and often the prescription for fatigue is getting outside, walking, and staying hydrated. And of course, balance is where we could take all the fantastic programs that FAI and other resources offer to make it a primary focus for the clients in their 70s.
And then we move into the decade of their clients in their 80s. Number one, they need a lot of encouragement to keep going, keeps to stay the course, continue to be active so that they will be able to enjoy life. The euphemism, move it or lose it, is never more apparent than in this decade. Number two, they do need the guidance to do it safely. They do let go of the past, they live in the moment, they remember their good times, everything they did, but sometimes they can't remember what they did yesterday. In health coaching, it's important to be patient, to listen, to let them repeat themselves. And that's some of what we'll talk about over the tools for health coaching. Physically, as they adopt a more sedentary lifestyle, postural and gait changes become apparent. That requires attention. Their ability to perform functional daily activities will deteriorate if they don't pursue and maintain an exercise regimen. Some of us may have already seen this with our clients. Fear of falling, whether admitted or not, comes to the forefront, begins to affect one's choices, and can result in less activity, less acceptance of social engagements, and isolation, besides what we've all just gone through with COVID, deepens. We as personal trainers, through the mindfulness techniques of a health coaching lens, we can really help this demographic overcome this through balance and strength training.
Yes. And now, keeping all this in mind, we're going to talk a bit about health coaching mindset. So there's so much we can talk about that we selected a few health coaching concepts to share that you can take with you to start, continue as you're building your health coaching mindset. We'll talk about what health coaching is. We'll cover an overview of some of the health coaching tools. We'll share the power of the breath and mindfulness and why it's so important as fitness professionals to be fully present with your clients. And then we'll close the session with a few more scenarios on having a health coaching mindset through the aging way. So One of the main differences that I notice from being both a personal trainer and a health coach is that a trainer is much more directive, and often we prescribe exercise modalities and we are the experts. When shifting to a health coaching mindset, the client is empowered to become the expert or be the expert. A health coach is a wellness mentor who listens to clients' concerns with compassion and asks powerful questions that can help the client realize areas of health that they want or need to focus. It provides your clients with the process to self-discover. We then guide the clients through a goal-setting process, really allowing the client to come up with their own ideas and goals, and then help them develop reasonable paths to reach them. And the goals are often related more to behavioral changes related to sleep and stress reduction, as well as nutrition and exercise and more. It guides them to a sustained lifestyle change, and it will be unique to each individual. So health coaching is about listening, motivating, and being an accountability partner. The best way to listen is to ask questions in a way that invite the client to share their thoughts. A powerful way is to do this through open-ended questions. An open-ended question is designed to encourage a full, meaningful, and deliberate answer using the client's own knowledge and feelings. When asking open-ended questions, you want to pause, and you want to make sure that they're framed in a way to elicit thought, time, and a response, allowing your client to self-discover. You want to use words like what, how, describe, tell me. So here's an example. Describe to me how your life would be different if you had more energy every day. This is a self-awareness invoking question. Notice that the question cannot be answered with a yes or no or even a one-word answer. It will probably require some silence from you and your client and allow them the time to think and respond. Another example is share with me some of your successes from this week. What were your biggest wins, no matter how big or small? This also cannot be answered with one word. In this case, we're looking to accentuate the positive. Have your client find for themselves where they had successes that they may not have realized, even though it might have happened. It's kind of small and they don't really notice it unless you're asked. Again, allowing them time to think through their week. Now, by asking open-ended questions, a health coach must then really listen. It sounds obvious, but it's often not done completely and in a really mindful way. And it is not easy. Allow your client time to think, process, and respond. It may be natural for us to, as asking the questions, to add on words, to clarify, to help pull an answer out. Don't do that. Just stop, pause, allow for the silence. As your client is responding, also don't formulate responses in your mind. Just try and listen. Jot down any few key words that you might want to circle back to. Don't interrupt. Silence is okay. It's actually better than okay. It's really good. As needed, you'll continue to ask more open-ended questions to elicit more responses. Now, to ensure that your client has been heard correctly and allow them to hear what they actually said, the next thing you'll do is restate or reflect what you heard to gain confidence in the client's statements. So we're really trying to change the approach from prescribing to having the client come up with their own ideas and their own plans and their own goals. So it's sometimes helpful to talk about the bigger picture with your client. And there's something called a wellness vision. It's a statement that the client can develop as they take time to think about where they see themselves in the future. It's not about how they get there, it's about how they see and feel about themselves as a more healthy and fit person, and not just in the body, but the mind and the spirit. An example of a wellness vision could be something like this. I am a strong and active and healthy woman who is available to my family and community as a source of support, love, and I'm a positive example and influencer for others. Now, notice this is not about how they get there, but how they see and especially feel about themselves. They feel strong and they feel healthy. They see themselves as active. They may have more mental resilience to be able to give more of themselves to others, which is important to them. And they want to have a positive influence and be a role model, and perhaps to their children or to people at work or people in their social circle. So helping people find their wellness vision is about asking questions in the right way, as we talked about using open-ended questions. And today I'll share highlights of 2 conversation processes for coaching. The first one is Appreciative Inquiry, and it's about focusing on the positive. It is said that it takes 3 positive thoughts to overtake 1 negative thought. Negative thoughts stick like Velcro, whereas positive thoughts slide off us, unfortunately, like Teflon. That's why having a health coaching mindset gives us the understanding that we can help our clients realize they actually have made progress or they made good decisions, often when they just focus on the negative. This helps to grow self-efficacy, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Now, motivational interviewing is about asking questions in a way that the client self-discovers with autonomy, becomes and has aha moments and decisions to help them find their own way and their own path to health and wellness. This is often used to talk to the client if they're presenting resistance. We call it rolling with resistance in health coaching. As you ask the right focused questions, the clients start to build up these discrepancies in their mind of what they're thinking versus what they're saying. And eventually it helps them move into motivational, more meaningful motivation and then action. So we'll talk a little bit more about each one. So Appreciative Inquiry, having a health coaching mindset, gives us the understanding that we can help our clients realize that they actually did make progress and made good decisions. So instead of asking, how are you? How was your day? How was your week? You would start out with something like, what was the best part of your day or week since last we met? Now, if your client's not used to this coming from you, they may pause, they may look at you perplexed, they may smile. Just give them some space, give some silence. Often, because as I shared, negative thoughts stick and positive slide away, they might need some time to actually think about like what something good that did happen. But most of the time, something good will come out and they'll share that. Then it's on to talking about their weekly or monthly goals. And as a health coach, being an accountability partner means asking about their goals and helping them stay on track. So when asking about goals, ask something like, what success did you have this week with your goals? Again, give them time, pause, allow silence. And then you can reflect and you can redirect. You can say, if they presented something negative, you can say, I hear that you were disappointed that you missed your Wednesday workout, but take another moment to think about what you accomplished. What workout days did you, what days did you work out? There's much more, of course, that goes into appreciative inquiry, but this is an initial step of the process. And while it might sound simplistic, it's really powerful. So try it out and see how you can change the direction of any conversation of your clients. And then just a bit more on motivational interviewing. It's about when your client is not in the mindset yet to take action on healthy lifestyle change. They often know it's something they should do, but they're not ready to do it. So in a bit, we'll talk about the trans-theoretical model, and we'll learn about the stages of change readiness. And often it's motivational interviewing that helps move people into the action stage. So at a high level, it is about helping people talk themselves into action through meaningful motivation. What that means is that through asking the right questions in the right way, allowing the clients to pause and process and really ask themselves to think about why, what's their motivation, what's their drive, it helps them take something that might be simmering as an idea and turn it into a boiling and a way of moving them to action. So your clients may resist change or action, and as a health coach, we can help them through asking some questions. So let's go through an example And I put the conversation on the slide to help point out the process. So let's talk through it together. So in this particular case, we're talking about limited time to exercise, and the client says, I don't have time to exercise. I'm just too busy to fit into my life. So as a trainer, you would say something like, well, I hear what you're saying. It's impossible for you to fit exercise in because you're so busy. Now, I want to note that I intentionally use the word impossible because I amplified the reflection. I took something that they said and tried to make it bigger to try and elicit a response. They might probably say something like, well, I didn't say it was impossible. I just said it's hard to find the time. That kind of gets their mind thinking, maybe it is possible to do it. So as a trainer, you can then say, you can look back and think of what might they have said positive in the past. And you could say something like, you had mentioned in our last conversation that exercise made you feel energized. So here we're trying to bring affirmative and positive inquiry into the mix, something positive about it. And so the client might go, yeah, when I actually take the time to exercise, I know it makes me feel better. So you can respond in a way of, okay, so you feel better when you're exercising. So now I'm trying to develop this discrepancy of them knowing they feel better when they exercise, but they're also saying they don't have time for it. So the client could go on to say, yes, that's why it's so frustrating that I can't find the time to do it. So then a response could be something like, recognizing the frustration. It sounds like you lack this. It sounds like the lack of exercise not only leaves you less energy, but also it gives you frustrating feelings to contend with. So how do you feel about taking some time to talk through and think about ways to maybe fit exercise in? So hopefully the client, through all this, thinking in their mind, might go, all right, why not? Let's talk about it. So they'll go, okay, let's brainstorm some ideas. No ideas off the table. There's no judgment. We'll just go back and forth, come up with a few ideas, and then we'll figure out where to go from there. And hopefully in your positive approach, the client will say, all right, let's give it a try. And then you can end by, that's a great step forward. Say their name, make sure to say their name throughout the conversation. And you'll move on and hopefully help them find ways to come up with different ideas to find their path to exercising. So that's what the opportunity for brainstorming allows. So in this case, we did a lot of different things. We asked questions, we reflected statements, we did some amplified reflections. And all of that is a way to get your clients to decide for themselves that while they thought they were too busy, they realized it's worth it to find time to get energy and to be less frustrated. So we rolled with resistance, we help them develop discrepancies, and we help them find their way to fitting in even just a little bit of exercise. All right, that was a lot. I'm going to now let Deb take over and talk a little bit about SMART goals.
Take a breath, Liz. All right. So as we saw, appreciative inquiry and motivational interviewing are two tools to help our clients towards setting health goals. Once you know what the goal will be, you as the fitness professional with a health coaching mindset can help them through the goal setting process. When setting goals, it's important to follow the SMART process. As most of us probably already know, it's been in textbooks for a while. SMART stands for goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bounded, keeping clients accountable. Now, once goals have been set, planning the accountability part is the next step. Setting up weekly touch points is critical to check in on each of these goals. This could be something as simple as a text. It's important at this stage to stay encouraging and motivating. Setbacks are part of the process. They may not be perfect, but progress does take time. Any small success should be acknowledged and celebrated. It's really important for us as coaches to remind our clients to think about their why. Why did they get us? Where is their drive coming from? And as needed, we can help them reset goals and readjust. Now, to share an example of how we approach the middle age, older age difference, let's look at being a wellness mentor for these two different demographics. When you're working with people in that middle age range, and again, that was ages 50 to 70 years, your mentoring will need to consider that they firstly have much less time to focus on themselves. They often have more responsibilities with families, parenting kids, possibly parenting parents. They have responsibilities with pets. Most are usually still working. They have careers that require travel. And also they may have big parts of social communities that require extra time above and beyond their workday. Some may choose to have large social circles. So most of the time that their time is not their own. All of these external factors obviously would cause an increase in stress level. So they may often need more help focusing on stress management, which we all know high levels of stress can also affect sleep. So of course, consistency in exercise helps with both of these. They may need additional tools from this health coaching mindfulness toolbox. And we will talk later about some breathing exercises. The older age group, which we categorize as 70 to 80 plus, are largely just the opposite. They have less daily demands on one's time. And again, keeping in mind that we all know that these parameters are generalities, and we know people that definitely exceed them. But in essence, they hopefully could put more time into themselves and their health. There is an uptick in stress because of physical limitations and possible medical issues. Falling into depressive states causes lack of motivation. They need more outreach and wellness mentoring once we've talked about some of their goals. Hormonal changes continue and impact on things like sleep. There's increased napping. They're not as stimulated by social activity. So Liz, speaking of all these concepts.
Yes. All right. So there are a lot of tools and models in health coaching, behavioral change. We're going to talk about a few. So the DISC model is something that can help us understand our client's personality. And it provides a framework for us to get to know our clients and, most importantly, get to understand the best way to communicate with them. There are times when a person's mind thinks they can do more than their body can. And so often there's this pull between emotion and rational side. And that's where this elephant rider and path comes along, this behavioral change model that helps clients understand both their elephant, the emotions, and their rider, their rational side, to help them on a clear path to success. Two other tools that we can use to help clients is the decisional balance and self-efficacy, and their behavioral change tools that we use often in the stages of change that is framed out in the trans-theoretical model. The trans-theoretical model is used to know how ready a client is, and it allows us to know and help provide steps to move them along in action. So we're going to take a few of the concepts. First, Deb will talk about the DISC model, and then I'll provide an overview of the trans-theoretical model. Back to you, Deb.
Okay. So zeroing in on the DISC model of personality types, it's an assessment that we use to determine a type in order to improve communication. Ultimately, the more effective you are able to communicate with each of your clients, the more you will be able to help them in a health coach capacity. The DISC analysis is done through a multi-question assessment. The basic assessment usually involves 12 questions or scenarios. A full comprehensive version is usually 30 questions or scenarios. There might be a small cost involved. However, for our purposes, we can take these concepts and use our already established observation and assessment skills as trainers to look at both ourselves and our clients. But first, let's take a few minutes to understand and make some sense out of this DISC model. There are 4 personality types. You can see the dominant, top left, inspiring, top right, supportive, bottom right, and cautious, bottom left. Generally, dominants reflect a person who is task-oriented and outgoing. They are more direct and to the point. Inspiring reflects someone more people-oriented and outgoing. They like to socialize more and are more chatty. Supportive characteristics reflect someone more reserved, but still people-oriented. They're processors and will need to move forward slowly. Cautious reflects reserved, but more task-oriented individuals. They like facts and want to know more and continue to learn. So if we take this one step further, when we assess our client, we can use these concepts to determine which quadrant they most resemble. And then that can help us in our communication. So clients who we consider dominant, we would want to keep our sessions on time, be extra friendly, deflecting any possible argumentative or debate exchange. Design a well-researched exercise prescription with a plan for advancing and bringing in new challenges. So those expiring clients, we remember to build in time to chat, share a story or something, anything to personalize the session. They have lots of enthusiasm, but we'll have to rein them in, keep them on the program, and keep them moving along. They need a lot of praise, provide praise for each milestone, and that will help keep the motivation going. Even selecting activities around play would be very helpful with this group. The third quadrant, which is our supportive clients, we need to introduce an exercise routine much more slowly. They'll do whatever we say. They're very compliant. The attention to detail with each exercise will make their commitment easy. They do prefer routine and really would be happy doing the very same exercises repeatedly. So it really becomes up to us to guide and nudge them for progressive exercise changes. When you determine they're ready for a change and their assessment information is evidence of that, you want to discuss your ideas. They don't like surprises. Get them to buy into the change, give them time to mentally prepare. Finally, our cautious clients, they prefer to know everything. They want details about the structure of muscle tissue and what each exercise does and why. They actually often overthink each exercise and that why with some challenging. You'll need to help them stay on track and focus on the move. Because they tend to be conscientious, strive to always do their best, they might be a little competitive, casual chit-chat might not be welcome. We want to keep their exercise session a little less personal, and your knowledge of physiology, citing studies, referring to academia is much appreciated. So this is this personality model helps us find the best communication path to lead our clients to their health and fitness success.
Thank you, Deb. All right. So we're going to move to the trans-theoretical model of behavioral change. And this model was developed by Dr. James Pertoska after studying 1,000 smokers and ex-smokers for 2 years on the faculty of the Department of Psychology at the University of Rhode Island. A very high-level overview of this. Essentially, the research showed that change is a process. The research showed that we move from not thinking about making a change at all, not ready, they call that pre-contemplation, to thinking about it, called contemplation. then moving to planning to change, which is called preparation, and then taking action, which is called action, and then sustaining the change for at least 6 months, which is called maintenance. We can also take steps backward and forward in the stages as indicated by the both direction arrows. And we can start anywhere. We don't always start in pre-contemplation. So that's where the health coaching mindset comes into play in helping to identify where in the stage of change your clients are to help, give them the tools they need to move them along. Someone might already be in preparation. How do you move them to action? Someone might be in contemplation. How do you move them along? And sometimes they leapfrog over and go from contemplation right to action. So there's no exact science. It's what understanding each of the stages that's the important part. So as an example from the course, I want you to meet Anna. She is a fictional character. She's 85 and she's one of my personal training clients. We're having a conversation about her meals, and in summary, she shared that she eats out a lot. She eats a lot of comfort foods. She barely eats any fruits and vegetables. And this really started about 3 years ago since her husband passed away and she moved into an assisted living community. So she came to me wanting to lose 10 to 20 pounds and thinks that she can do it just by exercising. She really has no interest in changing her food. So with my health coaching mindset, I realized she is in pre-contemplation and regarding her nutrition. And I want to help her move to contemplation because we all know that weight loss is a combination of diet and exercise. So the approach I took was asking Anna about her energy and about her immune system. I did this because even though it could be in any age, I really focused on this because she's in the older age, 85, and often they have less energy and they can get sick more easily. So I thought that would be a good approach. So I asked her, how often does she get sick? How often is she lethargic? And she did share that more recently, last like 6 or 12 months, she was feeling more tired. She was taking more naps. She had a few more colds than normal. So I decided to just share with her that I had been reading some information about nutrients and vitamins and minerals and fruits and vegetables and how that they can help people have energy and they help our immune system. And I tried not to act like an expert or tell her what to do. I was just telling her about some information I was reading. And she said, well, that sounded interesting. And so I'm like, oh, well, would you like to read the articles? I can send them to you. So I asked for permission. I didn't tell her to read them. I didn't force it upon her. And so she said, yes, absolutely. I'd like to read them. And even in that moment, I helped move Anna from pre-contemplation to contemplation. She is now thinking about reading these articles. She hasn't read them yet, but she's thinking about reading them. And that's just a very high level way of just recognizing where your client is in the stages of change and using some creative conversation to move them along. Now, as you're trying to help your clients go from different stages of change, there's a couple of other models that we talked about that can help them. The first one's the decisional balance and then self-efficacy. And simply put, decisional balance helps your client weigh the pros and the cons of a behavioral change. You will ask open-ended questions to guide your clients through realizing that the positives and negatives of decision. For example, a client tells you they want to start taking walks after dinner. They might start off with the negatives. As I mentioned, negatives come up in our minds first, no matter how we try. And they might say, well, I want to walk after dinner, but I have too much to do. I don't have time. It's cold. It's boring, whatever they come up with. What you want to do is then guide them and say, okay, well, those are all the negatives or cons, but what could happen if you did walk? And hopefully they would say, well, I know if I walked outside, it would feel good. I know moving helps me feel like I have more energy. And so what you're doing is creating that discrepancy again that we talked about earlier. When you're weighing pros and cons, you really get people to realize like the things they're missing out on if they don't do something. We call them barriers. And then what you do is once they determine what their barriers are, then you again talk through them through open-ended questions to find ways through and over the barriers. Now, self-efficacy is what gives your clients the confidence to try new behavioral changes. Self-efficacy is built through learned or observed behaviors, and learned behaviors are developed by setting attainable small goals. And then every time those goals are met, they get a sense of achievement. So when Deb talked about the SMART goals and A for attainable, that's where you want to really focus on, let's just set some short goals, and every goal they meet builds their self-efficacy. Another way self-efficacy is built is when they see someone else similar to them doing something successful. So a client might say, well, I have a friend and she walks 3 times a week. She can do it, I can do it. So that also helps give them a little bit of a boost to say, maybe I can try this. So these were just a couple of extra tools to share with you to just give you an overview of how you can use the right questions to ask your clients and get underneath what's going on in their mind. All right. So Tim, are we ready to move on?
We are. And what great tools. Along with this toolbox of health coaching concepts that Liz has discussed, let's chat about a basic yet crucial idea: being 100% present for each client, and the power of the breath, especially bringing it to mindfulness. While it may seem obvious in a virtual setting and even in person, there's been glitches using technology and devices, with checking phones, adjusting screens, lighting, but it is crucial that we fully prepare for each client interaction, addressing these issues in advance. Now, most facilities across the country are opening to more 100% capacity. There is an increase in live training, and that is requiring some adjustments for all who train as well. So as coaches, we need to be aware of those changes, what the rules are, etc. It allows us to be prepared and fully focus on the client. And as Liz discussed earlier, active listening, being mindful and observing body language provides us the most information on how we can best guide our client for today. We truly hear what the client is saying. We can reflect, provide follow-up to really get the client to determine their health goals. Then we can set them on the path for reaching them, checking back with how they're doing. This brings us to a mindfulness technique introduced by Liz.
All right, thanks, Deb. So before any session you have with your client, ensuring you're fully present with them, you can use this technique, this breathing technique, to help let go of anything, any previous thoughts, any stressors, any distractions. The 4-7-8 breathing exercise technique was developed by Dr. Andrew Weil, and he calls it a natural tranquilizer for the nervous system. So we invite you all to join us and encourage you, if you haven't stood up in the last half an hour or so, move around a little bit. You can do this in any position. You can do it standing, sitting, before you're going to sleep, while you're driving, anywhere you're feeling a little bit of stress or you need to be a little bit more focused. And it's really simple. You're basically going to breathe through your nose, in through your nose, or inhale through your nose for a count of 4, hold for a count of 7, and then breathe out through your mouth for a count of 8. And you want to do this 4 times. So that process of in for 4, hold for 7, breathe out for 8, 4 times. Now, Dr. Weil, he did a lot of research, and he found that if you do this process 2 times a day for at least 2 months, he saw his patients, as he monitored them, reduce their blood pressure, their heart rates, improve their digestive issues, their anxiety. So it offers a lot of opportunity. But what we're talking about is giving you this example and this tool to just be able to be present with your clients. So we invite you to try this with us now. We're going to breathe in. So Deb, she'll be the example as I count off. Deb's going to breathe in through her nose for 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. She holds for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and breathes out strongly through her mouth for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we'll do that one more time. Deb, breathing in through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And let's hear it out. Breathe really loud. 6, 7, 8. All right. So that was just an example. You can pause and you can do 2 more of these to get to your 4. And we invite you to use this anywhere you need it. We also invite you to share it with your clients. And we will now move to our last section of our session today. Deb, take it away.
You know, that natural tranquilizer really does work. I have used it quite a bit these last few months. Thanks, Liz.
You're welcome.
Now, in closing out our session today, we wanted to cover some scenarios on having a health coaching mindset as personal trainers working with clients riding the aging wave. So I'd like to introduce you to Pam, who is 62 years of age, a practicing ophthalmologist. She's a never exerciser. She has been nagged, which I'd like to say encouragement, but we all know that sometimes encouragement does become a nag, by her husband to get into exercising and take better care of herself. As a physician, she knew she should exercise, but she had never done anything about it. So she was in the contemplation stage. She was aware of needing to exercise. So for her to even do some research and track down my number and getting in contact was her first foray into even considering beginning this journey. So that takes us into the preparation stage. She's getting ready to make a move. Now, our assessments, our baseline assessments, did evidence a sedentary lifestyle, and she felt very motivated by that to take that first step. We began, and that first step for us as a team was to schedule regular exercise sessions. And there's some action. So to use some health coaching tools, our conversation went something like this as we just started to discuss scheduling. When I did ask Pam, so what is your work schedule? She did say, well, I see patients Monday afternoons, do surgeries all day on Tuesdays. I resume seeing patients in the office on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and I'm typically off Fridays. I'm largely free all day. I do try to spend some time with my husband. We usually like to do lunch. And I reinforced that by saying, wow, you really were not kidding when you say you are so busy. So that restates the information she just gave me. I said, well, can you give me an idea of how you feel at the end of your work days? Kind of with an open-ended question, trying to get her to elicit and think about her response. And after a few seconds, she goes, okay, truth be told, I can barely think by the time I get home. I get in, I eat a quick meal with my husband, and I usually have to follow up with notes, etc. Afterwards, making for kind of a late night. So I again restated that. Pam, that makes for some very long days. How do you feel about evening exercise sessions? And as one might expect, she responded that she did not think they would work out, indicating that she'd probably have to cancel frequently. After a few seconds, she said, well, maybe this whole thing's not even possible. And that's an example of what Liz described as the resistance. So evenings do not seem realistic. Let's take that off the table for the moment and look at the rest of the weekdays. How do you typically start your day? I was encouraging her to reflect on her schedule and any options that we may have. She claimed she was a fairly early riser. She does eat breakfast. She then usually checks her calendar and, except for Mondays and Fridays, leaves for her office at 7:30. I responded that with the schedule that you've described, how do you feel about Monday and Friday sessions starting about 8 a.m.? She responded, but that's only 2 days a week. Is it even worth it? Which was, again, bringing up a negative. So there's maintaining a discrepancy and providing more resistance. She knows she should do it. Her husband wants her to do it, but she's finding excuses not to do it. So I indicated that 2 days a week has definitely been proven to have positive results. And she said, really? But my husband exercises practically every day. How can 2 days a week provide any benefits? And I let her know that her muscles will gain strength and tonality over time, and her cardiovascular system will have adaptive changes, increasing her endurance. It's a good step in developing a healthy lifestyle. One step could lead to others. She gave it some thought, and she did say, as a physician, I agree. It's ironic that I needed someone else to remind me of these things. But still, I feel like I just don't have the time. Few hours I have on Monday and Fridays, I'm doing all these other life things. So again, I just restated, Pam, it does sound like you have a lot of responsibilities. But thinking about the time you spend when you are not at work, what percentage is related to doing things for you, for your self-care? She came to the conclusion that it was probably 5% or less. So I indicated that, it's time to think about herself. And when you think about the rest of the time in her day, what could wait? What can she reprioritize to give time for 2 exercise sessions per week? It was silence. I gave her time and space to contemplate and think. And she came to the conclusion that the way I asked the question, it made her pause. Yes, there are a few things that come to mind that don't have to get done when I choose to do them. And I do think it's time I give a bit more time to myself. Not because my husband wants me to do it. I appreciate that he supports me. That's often a barrier for others, and that they have to overcome that. I'm thankful I don't have that. So you know what? I just had my aha moment. Let's do this, Deb. Mondays and Fridays at 8 a.m., I am committing to myself. So in this scenario, we took Pam from being ambivalent and resistant through open-ended questions, time for pausing and reflecting, to a place of self-awareness and prioritizing self-care, which is now a measurable goal.
That was a great example, Deb.
Now, moving forward to a slightly different scenario, meet Betsy. Betsy is 85 years young, and we currently walk 4 times a week. And during a recent session, she seemed preoccupied, beside herself, and just a little off. So our conversation went as follows. I asked her, Betsy, you don't seem yourself today. What seems to be bothering you? She kind of bit her lip and said, well, my good friend took such a spill 2 days ago. She was in the grocery store parking lot, fractured her pelvis, and broke her wrist. I am so afraid that may happen to me. And I said to her that that's quite a recovery your friend is facing. And it sounds like it's made you more concerned for your health and safety. She replied, it really makes me rethink about ever going anywhere. It could happen to me too. And that's catastrophizing, so that it's making something in her mind appear much larger. And I reinforced that by saying it's natural, Betsy. When someone you care about gets injured, it's normal to have thoughts of your own health and have some fear. She said, yes, I'm afraid to fall and break a bone or have an injury. So I just asked her, what do you feel would make you feel safer? Again, trying to empower her, giving her some control of some of the decisions. And she looked at me and she said, can we practice falling and getting up? Is that crazy? Betsy, that is an excellent idea and not crazy at all. There are several exercises we can add on after our walks. And we were able to get her to a place where she is no longer fearful about getting out, managing curbs, managing sidewalks, etc. And those are 2 examples using health coaching mindset tools.
All right. And then, Deb, I think you would share with me that you can put your personal trainer hat back on and you can develop some exercise prescriptions for the situation, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's where you can use both your personal training experience and a health coaching mindset and mix them up when it's appropriate. Thank you for those 2 great examples, Deb, from her real life work. And again, we are so glad that you decided to watch our session today on how to enhance your client connection with the health coaching mindset. In summary, during our time together, we talked about what health coaching is. We reviewed some health coaching tools and talked about the importance of being present. And we did that 4-7-8 breathing exercise. And of course, just shared several examples of health coaching conversations just to get you an idea of how to have a different kind of conversation. With all that said, in the end, for this course, we just want to remind you that we said that you would have tools to increase your client connection and begin to think like a health coach, learn ways to ask questions, and some new health coaching tools to help your clients on their fitness path. So we hope you learned all that today. And one additional note for closing is that we want to remind that it is all about shifting our mindset and empowering our clients to become the experts in their own lives and fitness path.
So in closing, we want to share the health coaching Riding the Aging Wave course design. There will be 3 parts to the course. In part 1, we'll cover in more detail general health coaching concepts, including introduction to health coaching. We'll really dive into the DISC model of personality types and the trans theoretical model. This part of the course is now available for purchase.
Yes, it is.
Part 2 will cover emotional topics over the aging waves that interfere with a person's focus on health and fitness, including things like parenting, menopause, retirement, death, and funeral planning. They're all very real. Part 3 is going to cover the physical changes and the impacts it has on fitness and lifestyle. And this includes things like nutrition, physiological changes to muscle and bone, injury prevention, some balance mention, and posture. Parts 2 and 3 are in progress, but they're not required to take. You can take part 1, and then when you find the benefits from learning about the health coaching concepts, if you choose to take parts 2 and 3 later, they will be available to be announced. The part 1 is 3 CECs from both from 4 FASM, FAI, NASM, and ACE. Yeah. So we hope you enjoy the material and reach out to us soon.
And speaking of that, while we could not be there live with you for a breakout session during the FAI Summit 2021, we are available for any follow-up questions, and you can use these email addresses to contact us. So we hope to hear from you. And thank you again for joining us today. And as a special gift for watching our session all the way to the end, here is a 15% off the Part 1 Health Coaching Riding the Aging Wave course. Use promo code WAVE for your discount. We hope you will ride the health coaching wave with us and enjoy the rest of your summit. Take care and thank you.
Take care, guys. Thanks for watching.